With the holiday season right around the corner, I'm already starting to gather my Christmas cards. Great place to display them is right here on my Skinny Santa. Let's get started. That's right, this killer Skinny Santa was made by my wife way back in elementary school, and I just love pulling out these great holiday projects to share with all of you. All you're gonna really need is some of that really easy to get craft felt. You'll need a few of the squares. You'll need a green one, a black one. You'll also need 2 of the white ones. You'll need a little extra space for the beard and the socks and shoes and stuff. Now, the other thing you're gonna wanna use is you're gonna wanna use the 72-inch, that's 6 foot long, the red felt, because as you look over here with my Santa, he goes all the way to the ground, and he's got these awesome boots and holly and everything as well. So we're gonna make all of that for you here today. And so we're gonna build the entire body of the Santa on the red. In the description below, we have a link with a wonderful, thank you again, Allie. You've got a color diagram for where you put your parts and pieces. And then you're gonna have your 2 parts and pieces. And again, those are all free for you below there. And the piece we're gonna really need to start to focus on to cut out the body is a 2-part here where we're gonna go ahead and match up those numbers like you see. And those numbers there are going to help us create the entire body of it. I've got 2 pieces cut out to show you. Now, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna identify the head. And I'm gonna cut all of this in single layers. I don't wanna double cut this. And if you look real carefully, the head here and this space below, so the space from here to here, there's 53 inches of distance between there. So what we first wanna do, and if you would rather just draw it, you can. I usually just cut it with my rotary cutter. And I've got it stashed back here somewhere like this. So watch, this is what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna have my cut here, come down, around. We can clean that up a little bit better later if we need. So as this comes to here, then here, here, I'm gonna stop right there at the bottom of that, that's his cheekbone where his beard hooks up, okay? And I'm gonna do the same for the other side. Careful if you're doing this with a cutter. Probably when working with kids, you would want to use like a felt marker, like a Sharpie to mark it out. And then you would just have them cut it with scissors. That's a lot safer, of course. Okay. And then what I'm going to do here to just get the top out, I'm going to cut this out of my way. Here, just so you can see what we've done. There to there to there. Oops, got to come down to this angle. Like that. And just take your time when you're cutting this because you need all of that chunk of felt. You don't want to have to run back to your local shop. Or of course we have the supplies down there for you if you need. Now, watch this. I purposefully made this 6 foot, it is 6 foot, sorry, 6 inches wide. So you can take your 6-inch wide ruler, right? Lay it right there. And we're going to go 53 inches all the way down. Okay? So I'm going to start cutting, like yay, heading on down. I want to make sure I keep it as square as possible. And then I'll just measure it. And when I get all the way to the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and install this piece back on right here. And then that's at the bottom of the 53. And then I'll cut the shape for where his boots are going to be placed. I've already got the rest of this made and I want to show you how the parts come back onto it. So let's clear this out of the way and bring that other one in so you can see where everything is going to land. I want to make sure I explained how to cut the feet correctly. So look at this here. I have my whole red body of the felt cut all the way down. This pin was at that 53-inch mark where the second part of the line is going to begin, right? So I'm going to lay that on here. And now I actually like to use my little 18mm cutter. It makes it a little bit easier for coming around those circles. And I can come around the notches that will be for his fuzz above his boots. Cut across here. And you'll also want to save just a little bit of your red. You're going to need scraps for the nose and the mouthpiece. So you didn't need a felt square for that. We're just going to use little bits from our scraps here. Okay, and I'll be done with this in just a second. We're going to come around here. And the fuzz covers up those bumps. So if they're not perfect, it's not a problem at all. And move that out of the way, and here we go. So now we have the whole body of our Santa cut. I can set these out of the way. So there's the feet section, and we're gonna go all the way back up here, right? And this is the head section. We're gonna start up there. Now, I wanna point out real quickly, here's that full color diagram, and it shows you the different parts and pieces. And here are the actual parts and pieces. You might wanna print this out now so that you can number these. Example, for the holly, we have one drawn, but you'll need to cut out 4 of them, right? There's 2 at the boots and 2 up at the hat. So as you look through, you'll be able to number how many pieces you want. You might want to fold your felt and stack them so that they're cut exactly the same. That was one of my tricks. Okay. Then once you're ready to start assembling, you could glue these together, but a lot of the parts are going to be stuffed. So I did all mine with just needle and thread and the machine. And I literally started, the first set of sewing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to put the mouth onto the beard, right? The mouth is not going to be, what do I want to say, indented once it's stuffed. So we need to sew the mouth onto the beard first. Okay, and then the beard is going to lay right down in here into those first sets of triangles. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the nose on later right here. And so I'm going to leave my opening for stuffing with my poly felt stuffing in there right up here at the top, right? So we're going to use white thread. Only red thread I needed at the moment was for the nose. Then I've loaded the machine with white thread, and we're going to stitch around the beard. Okay, and then one of the things I want to show you, we're going to stitch the loop on, the hanging loop, and the white circle on the top all in one stroke. So what I did for that is I came over, and this will kind of denote which becomes the top or the right side. So you're just going to need to fold your loop over. If you want to put a pin, you could. And then as I approach my sewing machine, I'm also going to take my white circle that I had, which was the fun little fuzz on the top of the hat. And that's going to drop right in here. And I am doing this, I have a red bobbin in the machine, and I simply have, like I said, white thread and standard sewing procedure. I'm not doing this free motion. I am using polyester thread here. I'm just going to go around, and I'm catching that top loop first as I'm stitching. And then I'll just leave my needle down and I'll rotate. And with this poly felt, it's really nice and stable, but I'm still stitching in, I'm going to say roughly 1/8 of an inch, maybe 2 or 3 needle thicknesses from the edge. Pivot often on your small pieces. Okay, so this is how all of your stitching will go to put on all your parts and pieces. Okay. And let me walk you through the order, right? So like I said, I put that on because it was nice and easy there. We put the mouth onto the beard first. The beard lays down there. I stitch that on because I'm still in white thread mode, okay? While you're in white thread mode, you can also put the fuzz onto the hat there. And then you also have your 2 cute little eyes that you can play with in your positioning there, okay? And those get stitched down. We're going to stuff the hat, we're going to stuff the beard. So you need to leave an opening here, and I left the opening in the hat underneath the holly. Okay, here comes the boot section. For the boots, you have a black piece, you have a white piece, and you'll have 2 more holly pieces like that, right? But I've already got one of these almost finished that I want to show you. So let's just slide that out of the way slightly here, okay? And here, this one has got all of the stitching done. So what I was trying to point out, right, is I'm going to have a section in here that's open on the white, and I also have a section in here that's open in the black, so that while I'm getting ready to stuff, you just take little bits of your poly stuffing here, right? And I'm going to kind of massage it. I don't want it to be too lumpy at all. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to be able to stick it inside the openings. I also like to use a tool called the purple fang, because I can control getting that stuffing all the way over in here to the heel of the boot. So I just fill these up. They don't need to be overly stuffed, just cute, right? We're just going for cute. And then once you get it all in, you'll be able to go ahead and top stitch down those decorations that will hide the holes, with the exception of we will need to black stitch. Top stitch with black thread, which is black stitch apparently today, around there to hold that. And when I do that, I'll also put the pupils on the eyes. So I'm going to quickly stuff up my Santa here and show you the finishing. I'll be right back. All the stuffing's in place, except for maybe it would have made it nice for a little Santa beard or something like that for me as well. But let's get back to the project at hand. Now, Like I said earlier, you're gonna use your finishing embellishments like the holly here at the top of the boots. You won't need to finish top stitching this part here with white thread, right? You're just gonna be able to catch those with the green. That's real easy. You'll wanna switch to your black thread for the boots, and at that point, go ahead and put your pupils on as well, so you'll just drop those in. My original one has fun little X's stitched across the pupils. It was easier than going around the circle, okay? But the last step, oh, sorry, you'll need a little bit more holly up here to cover the opening on the hat, just like that. But the last step for the opening at the beard, where we're gonna put that little nose on, I am going to show you that I'm gonna top stitch it first closed with the white thread because that nose is so small, we just don't need to monkey around with it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lower that presser foot back on, make sure that my thread is anchored with a couple back stitches, and now I'm gonna seal the area first where the nose will go into place. And I'm gonna come back over the area where I'd also stitched prior. Okay, get those cut, and let's take a moment and trim our threads out of the way. So we're gonna trim here and trim here, because that way the beard can be kind of manipulated a little bit more, because of course that's where all of Santa's character comes from, right? Squish down like that, and then we could put the nose right on. Now with the nose, you'll want to have your red thread in place, and not only that, but if you're kind of nervous about sewing that small of a circle, you could put a dab of any kind of craft glue to hold it there for just a few seconds first so that it doesn't shift around. I don't recommend a pin. I think that's just going to be in your way. Okay, some of you might be watching me thread this machine. Now this is my more industrial style machine that has eyelet in it instead of actual thread clips. So that's one of the fastest way for me to thread the machine, is just to tie on like a serger and pull through. Okay, so now I've got my red thread loaded, always had red in the bobbin, I hope I told you that earlier. And now I'm gonna come over here to the nose, and I'm just gonna slowly get myself in position. And we're just gonna take a few stitches and pivot, a few stitches and pivot. As we go around here, sometimes I'll actually pivot all the way back around like this just to keep the bulk out, but I'm still moving in the forward direction here. Okay, so here we go. We've got the nose all stitched on. Of course, I'll have to clean that thread off. And then once the nose is on, you're just gonna finish enjoying putting on the rest of the embellishments, the pupils, and the holly, and your skinny Santa will be all done. Of course, I've got mine up here on the wall, already ready to receive your awesome Christmas cards, care of the Missouri Star Quilt Company. I'll be excited to see what you're sending. But I still need one more piece of help here. My family and I love to do crafts at Christmas time, and we've been doing it for years, and we're starting to kind of run out of ideas. So what I want to know from all of you out there is, what is your favorite Christmas craft to do? Drop it in the comments below, and we'll see you next time right here at Man Sewing.